Hey guys, welcome back to Brickstars in our Lego Basketball League video. This is part 2. In part 1 we looked at these 6 factions and 6 logos that we created, and now we're going to expand on that. We're growing this league to what we believe is the full set, more or less, of castle factions. Like I noted in the first video, there's probably a couple that we missed from the CMF line. But in general, we think we've done a fair job of capturing the Lego Castle factions. You can see the 6 that we covered last time, and now we're gonna add another 6 to the league. Here you see the 6 we've chosen for this video: the Dwarfs, Lionites, Dragonites, Crusaders, Forestmen, and Trafoils. And there's a little sneak peek at the main logos for each team. Again, some of the teams we've renamed, we've reworked how we're referring to them. I know the Crusaders and Lionites, you could argue, were maybe one faction. The Dwarfs were kind of a sub-faction, but we think they warranted their own team. So let's jump into it. But first, a look at the league as it sits right now with these new 6 logos. Again, if you're following us along or enjoy this, please hit the subscribe button. As we complete the league, we're going to have a couple more videos to show the rest of the league, but for now, let's jump right into it with this week's first team, and that is the Dwarfs. Yes, it's not Dwarves. We followed the Lego spelling for the team name, and a very simple but I think iconic badge. Really happy with how this one turned out. It's intended to represent kind of the dwarf battle axe, but also a built-in kind of Lego or basketball line silhouette. And of course, a play on the shield with the alternating navy and light blue, like we saw with the Crownies, which are kind of a cousin faction of the Dwarfs, I would say. You can see very simple elements overall, but I think the custom font and the clever badge itself work pretty well. The home uniform, pretty simple. This one we wanted to focus on the navy and of course make use of this very cool, beautiful part, the dwarf helmet piece. You can see that's been the focal piece of the shorts here, and I think it stands out. It's something different. I think of like the Chicago Bulls with their diamond shorts that are pretty iconic. I don't think this one needs any logos on the shorts per se. Pretty simple design, and I like the font choice. It's kind of almost like dwarf column vibes to it, so I think that works pretty well. And if you saw the last video, the Crownies were focused on light blue. We wanted the Dwarfs to kind of stick out with that navy blue and the touches of gold throughout, as I imagine their minds are filled with gold. And that's where the alternate uniform comes into play. So this one has a gold base, and we've taken the helmet design from the shorts and put it on the jersey here as well as something a little bit different. For the city uniform, we kind of have a bit of a departure. It's based on the color orange, which is from the dwarf beard here. A lot of times dwarves have that gingery orange beard, which I think works pretty well and is unique in this basketball league because we don't see a lot of orange in other factions. And then the sides here are kind of double design in terms of representing dwarven columns, kind of fantasy-like architecture. You can see they're very much geometric in shape, but also a little bit of a nod to a basketball net as well. And the rest of the colors with the navy and the gray kind of tie in with the torsos of a lot of the minifigures from the Castle Dwarfs sets. So a little bit different, interesting, pretty pleased with that one. And overall, you can see how the set looks. Again, I'm a big fan of this font, which actually comes from the battle pack from the Dwarfs. So I think it ties in really well. And the rest of the colors are a bit different from what we've seen so far. Next up, the Lionites. I think this is one of my favorite ones, how it turned out. We really wanted to give this one kind of a professional, classy, almost think Barcelona soccer club vibes. Obviously the colors very similar to that, but nothing too crazy on the other logos. I think the lion is a strong piece on its own, and with the red, the yellow, the blue, a nice color balance for the Lion Knights. And of course, the logo sheet features the rest of the logos, a sneak peek at the jerseys, and I think this word mark here is just pure class with a little gold crown on top, the balance of the red and the blue, and just very, very regal looking in my opinion. And of course, when we say Lion Knights, the most recent rendition of them is the return of the Lion Knights in the Lion Knights Castle. You can see they actually had a couple different shields, but a good balance of red, blue, yellow throughout the wave, and just great looking minifigures. Of course, again, these are the new ones. We've seen Lion Knights before as one of the early Lego Castle factions. And the home uniform, really like how this one turned out. Again, I think the color balance is great. You can see the side detail takes the design elements from the cape that they've recently given the Lion Knights, and I think just the focus of red here, but balancing with the blue, touches of yellow throughout, really great. And we added a bit of an arc to the word mark. It just makes it stand out a little bit more, I think, on the uniform. And a little detail here is having the lion face forward on both sides. Again, very professional looking set. On the road uniform, we've got the color red. Obviously, the Lion Knights adorned in red here, and you can see their arms and feet are blue, so we tried to focus that on the trims here, predominantly blue instead of balancing those colors. But really like how the blue and yellow pop off the jersey here, and the waistband just featuring that simple crown. On the alternate uniform, we've got, again, similar design. We've changed the logo up to use the shield here, making it a bit more regal, and tweaked the word mark and number slightly to give them a bit of a drop shadow. I think that's a simple change that differentiates the alternate a little bit from the home and road uniforms, and I think the yellow just pops. And then finally, for the city uniform, we didn't go too crazy on the uniform itself, but I think the arm trim here is one of my favorite design elements throughout this series that we've done. It's kind of like in the 90s how the Timberwolves had the little trees on their jersey, or the Raptors had some detail there too. I think it's very bold and simple, but works pretty well, and it gives the Lion Knights here a blue uniform in their repertoire. And the shorts, again, a little bit different, very regal with the shield and just the simple lion off the shield instead of our logo. So I think that works really great as well. And looking at the full set, you can see we tried to use all their colors. I imagine them kind of wearing these uniforms throughout a season pretty evenly so that you get a little bit of everything. Next up, the Dragonites. These guys are specifically the Dragonites from the Kingdoms lineup. So you can see dark green is the focus here. The touches of yellow and light yellow. There was also touches of green and mint green, but try to work with this one. The logo is, something a little bit different. I never was a huge fan of how the dragon appeared here, but we've given him some wings and a pretty strong face and head here. And I do love how this basketball net worked out. The two-tone basketball here ties in with the shield design. So I think that worked out pretty good. And on the jerseys, I'm a big fan of how these ones turned out. Obviously, you can see we've taken some of that chainmail inspiration from here. The chest plate as well featured here, and just the sharp lines. And the focus really being on the green and the black. We wanted these guys to look pretty mean, pretty intimidating, with just a few touches of gold speckled throughout, a nod to the shield. I think it's a pretty good balance on this one. And same thing on the road uniform, just kept the yellow very slight, but I think it pops enough. And with the black and silver in this case, it's very much an armored look to the Dragonites. On the alternate uniform, the base color is based on this chainmail. It's kind of like a gunmetal dark gray, and I love how it paired with the dark green here. Very subtle, but it works. And then we threw in the mint green that's also featured on some of their torsos. I thought the yellow, when I put that in, it was a little bit too bold and popped a little too much, and I didn't want yellow to be a focus color for the Dragonites. I really wanted it to be more of an accent. And you see the tunic piece here carries over, and the dark green and mint green make their appearance as well on the city uniform. I think these kind of look like dragon scales to me, so that works pretty well. And instead of the yellow, in this case, the torsos often had this nice gold color, so we've carried that throughout the logos and the word marks, and I think it works pretty well here. So you can see the full lineup. I think the home and road are really sharp and nice, and then something different on the city uniform, but a very cool set as well. Next up, we've got the Crusaders. Of course, this one is maybe not accurate historically. We kind of maybe made up, or maybe we shouldn't have made up the Lionites, but nonetheless, we focused on the Lego helmet piece. I love how it came together here, sitting on top of a basketball, and the crossed axes with the different colors. Of course, a play on the shield from the Crusaders. We switched the colors to gold instead of yellow, just to make it a little bit more realistic looking. And then the home uniforms have, again, the split in color is something that we like to do, add a bit of variety, but nothing too crazy on this one. Maybe a different design that was more intricate would have worked, but they're a pretty old faction with pretty simple designs, so it isn't too bad. On the road uniform here, I kind of like this dual tone on the back, reminiscent of what the Toronto Raptors did. And of course, the colors, the simplicity of the blue and the red, very reminiscent of the Los Angeles Clippers here. So you can see our designs are trying to stay realistic to how NBA teams are designed, and I think throughout we've done that. The partial logo here, a slight variety from the main logo, just features a basketball with the crossed axes. I think it looks pretty good. And then something a little bit different on the alternate is a focus on the gold, and you can see no word mark here. I think this speaks for itself. You can recognize which faction this is, and worked the black color in as well on this one. And then something a little bit more wild on the city set. The shield from the back of the home and road makes an appearance on the front here, and we've swapped the colors out again to kind of play on those alternate mismatched axes. Overall, probably not my favorite set of the bunch, but I think it still works for this faction. Next up, one of my favorite factions, the Forestmen. Clearly a play on the shield here, but if you notice, we've given the deer a Forestman hat as well. A little bit of fun, something maybe more that you'd see in older logos, is kind of that cartoony feel. But I think it tied in very nicely with this word mark and the arrow shooting through there. Just a really nice looking logo with the brown, the green, the cream. Obviously, with anything deer and basketball related, it's difficult to differentiate yourself from the Milwaukee Bucks, and I think we were able to do that here. You can see the rest of the logo lineup with a partial logo and just a simple basketball with arrows. And again, that word mark, I love the slant on it and the color balance. On the home uniform, we focused on the green, and you can see there's touches of red on the trim here, which is a play on the main Forestmen minifigure. And I say main because the Forestmen minifigures that they've brought back predominantly feature red, and so we wanted to include that nod of red throughout. And of course, this tunic piece, you can see there's a bit of that detail in the top part of the uniform, but otherwise fairly simple design. You can see on the road uniform the same thing. I do love how the white pops off the jersey here. Black, brown, very reminiscent of the shield. And again, that red carrying through on the outsides. For the alternate, we use the color brown, which is pretty unique. And it's obviously in reference to the shield, which was very much green, black, brown. We've also included that on the shorts here. So this is kind of their shield uniform. And then for the city uniform, we've used black as the base. And you can recognize the Forestmen hideout here. The Forestmen sets were known for having blue roofs. So we kind of had that as a nod for the neck trim here. And then on the shorts, it's obviously the Lego pine tree aesthetic there. Very simple uniform, but I think the colors and those simple details work, especially when you add it into the full lineup. I don't imagine it's a uniform that the Forestmen would wear very often. I think they'd probably stick to their home and road, but nice additions with the alternate and city uniform. And then finally, for this week's video, we've got the Trafoils. Clearly a play on their badge, the club symbol, the 3 basketballs, and a friendly reminder that we have designed the Trafoils as minifigures in the past. If you're more interested in that, please check it out. But looking at the logos for these guys, nothing too crazy. Again, the focus was on the club symbol and then a nice little banner here with a more simpler font because their word mark is really beautiful and detailed. And you can see the home uniform, we've kind of played on the Trafoil symbol again in the top part of the jersey here. And the shorts, I really wanted to make them pretty unique and iconic in the sense that they don't need logos. They've got this kind of simple Trafoil built in, but I think they stand out, and the simple colors with the blue and the white, just a touch of yellow, I think makes this jersey and this team pretty unique. And I love yellow and blue as a color combo, very Indiana Pacers vibes here, but I do like how it turned out on the road uniform. And then this one kind of reminds me of the Golden State Warriors. The yellow, the blue, touch of white. I think the blue pops even more here than on the last uniform. And here we got rid of that pattern, just a more simple uniform. Whereas you'll see on the city uniform, we did something a little bit different. Very much like how Sweden does with their sports teams, in particular their hockey team. And, you know, putting the 3 Trafoils here. So in that case, we have the word mark on the shorts, and I do like how the blue is separated from the gray with just a bit of yellow here. It's not too much in your face, but works really well. So one of my favorite jerseys overall. I actually really like how that one turned out, and that's the Trafoils uniforms. So let's take a look at the 6 teams we've done in this video. You can see they're all slightly different. There's varying degrees of classic style and modern style, and I think overall I'm pretty pleased with this lineup, especially the Line Knights. Like I said, I think that's maybe one of my favorite ones, and I really do like how the Dragonites have a bit of color on the top part of the jerseys here. So again, these are the next 6. Follow along to see the rest of the league. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you next time.